Now for a quick disclaimer. Nothing you see or hear on the flight deck is investment advice. Nothing said today is intended as investment advice. Those participating in today's discussion may have bought, held and/or sold the stocks discussed today prior to today's discussion and/or may do so afterwards. Remember, you are responsible for your own investment decisions, and if in doubt, you should seek advice from an independent financial advisor. Stocks can be high risk, and you may lose the entire amount you have invested. Please now sit back and enjoy the flight.
Gold, copper, scandium, cobalt, and silver. The strategic minerals driving global economies continue to be proven up at Doubleview Gold's flagship HAT project, potentially one of Canada's largest porphyry copper gold deposits. Over 13,000 meters of drilling in 2025 and ongoing this year have advanced the project to MRE and PEA release within weeks. Fully funded, located in a safe mining jurisdiction, and rapidly advancing. Doubleview, pure potential.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the flight deck. Today we have a very special guest. We have Farshad Shirvani, CEO and President from Doubleview Gold. Doubleview Gold's capitalized around $268 million Canadian. Total shares in issue of around 225 million. The HAT projects in British Columbia are located in a region referred to as the Golden Triangle, and it's a large-scale polymetallic discovery. And today we've got Farshad on himself to have a fireside chat with us, and we're just going to talk through what they've discovered, what the resource is, and we want to bring this exciting story to the Flight Deck channel and for many of you resource investors. So Farshad, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. Good day, listeners. And I'm happy to be speaking with you today about this great project. My name is Farshad Shirvani. I have a master's degree in geology. I'm the one who discovered this project. I will tell you the story about it. I believe it's quite fascinating story and happened just by coincidence.
We've got time today. We can dive in. And also on the call, we've got our regular Sporazene.
Super. Thanks a lot, Flight. Farshad, great to see you. Looking forward to hearing more about the story.
Nice meeting you too.
Okay, so let's dive in. So Farshad, so tell us how you came to find the leases in British Columbia, and just why don't you just kick off right from the start? Just give us the overview.
Sure. There were a lot of things happened. It was 2005. I had a 2-year-old boy, and I'm a consultant providing consulting services for all major miners, small companies, big ones. Very, very busy. One afternoon, I came home. I was working 6.5 days. Sunday afternoon, I was coming home. I came home. Literally, my wife held my arms and go, "Sit down. I want you to listen to me." I said, "What is it?" She goes, "Your son doesn't know you. He's 2 years old." I said, "How's it possible? I see him every day." And she goes, "You see him. He doesn't see you." I said, "Let's try it out." We went to the park, and in the park, I said, "Just let him be alone with me." She left without him noticing. All of a sudden, I found out he's shying away from me. He doesn't look at me in the face, and etc. Quite heartbreaking. So when we came back, we went home. I sat down. It was after he went to bed, and I hugged him and etc. And I said, "Give me 6 months. I promise you, I'm going to change my job from consulting services to something else." And I knew what I'm going to do because I had a couple of discoveries pinpointed at the time. And of course, my name never goes on those, but I was happy. But now I wanted to be my own. So what I did is, I make it very short, I picked up 40 projects in BC. I started putting my own money on each one of those to do the prelim work. And believe it or not, all of those projects, I still have some of them. This one wasn't my project. I spend my time on porphyry projects in British Columbia. They are on Scandium terrain. And because that's the hub for everything, they call it Golden Triangle, but Golden Triangle is the name for that terrain. And I couldn't get this project because it had had all the elements that I needed. I had a guy, my prospector, and I said, I wish I could get this project. And he goes, guess who that project is? I said, who's that? He goes, your geologist. He owns it. I said, wait a minute. Eric Osmondson? Yes, he always used to bring it to me, but I never paid attention and make a connection between the location and the samples he's getting.
So Eric had the lease, did he?
Yes, he staked it in 1993. Now we are talking about 2007, 8, around that era. And then I'm so lucky. Even I offered him, I said, hey, listen, let me get on it and make it updated. He had a partner. His partner didn't want to give it to Joe Blow. He wanted to give it to a major mining company. Eventually, a year after that, still I'm going back and forth with them. They both came in to go for lunch. Tom Lyle passed away, but they came in and I said, hey guys, you're going to die on this project or give it to me. They went for lunch. They came back with a folder. They put it on my desk and they said, this is the offer. I quietly flipped the bottom of it and signed the signature page. And they go, you don't want to even look at it? Because I know him for a long time. I said, I know you guys are fair. No, look at it. I looked at it. It was $1 million expenditure, 1,000,000 shares, and $250,000 cash over time. I said, market is really bad for copper. Market is off. I want you to do me a favor. Only thing I ask from you guys, if I couldn't fulfill my obligations, give me a little bit of time and don't foreclose on me. And they said, okay, here's a man-to-man handshake.
How business should be done.
Yes.
So when was this? 2010?
I believe it was 2000, a year before we got the announcement done. It took me about 6-7 months to get it ready.
Okay.
I got it ready. They announced it. Happened that on the year 4th, I couldn't make the payment, $150,000. They said, okay, that's fine. I put it for the next year. Next year, they said, we want our money. The market was awful. I said, okay, I mortgaged my house. I gave it to them. And I said, I'm not going to walk away from the project because something happened during this time. So we started to go on the project to do a little program because I want to know the project before I do anything. We went with the helicopter and my prospector and a chainsaw, and we are landing at a place which is now the camp. It was full of trees, and the pilot came out and he goes, listen, if you don't cut that tree and that tree, I'm not going to come here. There's no room for me to land.
To land the helicopter?
Land the helicopter. I said, sure, we do it. So my prospector went and cut those trees. They were about 10 inches in diameter, 5 inches in diameter, not quite 10, and cut both of them. And they said, okay, Farshad, we go get the guys. So my prospector and the pilot left and I was alone. So I'm going around the trees, looking at the tree. That's where I fell in love with this project. The tree, the inside the core was completely green, oozing copper oxide out of it. And I go, this is it. What do you want more than this?
So you chopped the tree and you saw within the sap
Yeah,
was
inside.
green.
Yes, inside the tree. And the tree was dead because of that copper.
Right.
They threw them. And these poplar trees are sucking liquid from deep. And all the poplars die when they grow big
Mm.
on our property.
Yeah, I love it.
This is it. This is it. I got to spend 10 years. So we started from zero. And from there, it's like you see a girl, love at the first sight. It was had at the love at the first sight. And I couldn't take my eyes off of it. So we did the initial work and etc. I was in such a big belief that you will hear this. This is a true story. I went around the country to raise money. I tried hard. I went everywhere. I had about $250,000. I spent all of it on going around to find a broker who gives me the money. In the meantime, stock goes down, market cap goes down. So I went to Toronto. Uh, I talked to a guy and he said, "How much money do you want?" He's he's very aggressive in raising money. And he goes, "Hey, listen, you don't need to come to my office because I had an appointment with him. I will come down and I buy you a coffee." I said, "Sure." I was at the coffee shop. He came, he bought me a coffee. I mean, he had a long calculator. And he brought and goes, "Farshad, how much do you want?" I said, "I need at least $500,000 so I can get something done." And he goes, "Okay, here is how many shares do you have?" Ding, 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 going. And he goes, "Listen, your market cap, if I give you a little bit push and etc., is $320,000. If I give you $500,000, basically I own your company. So it's impossible." Light bulb went on. I said, "So what do I do?" He goes, "The way you do it, put $30,000, $20,000 into the company, do a little work until you get your market cap at a level that you can raise money." And oh my God, it's going to be 10 years before I even can do anything. So I flew back home midnight. I'm walking. It was a summer, walking on the porch, going back and forth. And I said, literally, I'm talking to myself at that time. I'm saying, "Listen, do you believe in your project?" Honest to God, I'm talking loud to myself and I answer loud, "Yes." And then I go, "Would you put your money your money where your mouth is?" I said, "Yes." Then I answer, "But where is my money? I don't have it." Honestly, this is exactly what happened. I talked to myself. I said, "You're sitting on it. It's your house."
So you went all in.
I said, then I started talking to myself. I said, "Do you really believe to make that big of a risk?" Yes. So I stayed home. It was a Monday. I stayed home. My wife woke up. I said, "Let's go for a coffee."
This is the biggest conversation of your life.
Yes. A scene created. And I tell you what happened years ago. We went to the coffee shop and I sat down and I said, "Hey, listen, do you believe in me? Do you see what I've done? You know, I'm very big risk taker, but I don't take risk the same as others. It's not gambling. It's not pure risk. It's it's not even listening to somebody else. It's listening to myself, and it's a calculated risk. We may lose our house even. I want to borrow some money against the house." And she goes, I don't know why she said that. She goes, "Okay, where should I sign?"
Love
We went to the bank right
it.
there. And I spoke with the banker. Now I had money. Now I had $1.5 million mortgage. Good. Okay. We went on the property and started from there. Even I failed in the first 5 holes. And the reason for failure was I wasn't tuned to the porphyry deposit drilling. I was tuned into, I don't know where, 50 meters deep holes. They don't work. I learned it the hard way. But on the sixth hole, before I failed completely, and I didn't have enough money even for that, on the sixth hole, I brought the elevation down. I didn't focus on surface. I focused on underground IP survey, and the discovery happened. Even at the time, I had technical discovery. I had the zero point 0.2 for copper and 0.2 for gold. It was a technical discovery. It was a humongous discovery. Now I see the porphyry rock. Now everything was there. That's how it started. Then market was again bad. I mortgaged the house again. At some point, market in Vancouver crashed for houses because when nobody buys anything, that's the time to go and buy it. That's my focus in business. So I told my wife, hey, listen, let's sell the house. We sell it, we go buy a bigger house, higher price, because right now all the prices are crashed. Still, I haven't sold the house, but we put it in the market. At some point, even $800,000 didn't come as a bid to buy the house. No one bought it. And I was aiming at a $1.4 million house at the time. And no one bought it. And my realtor came in and goes, you have to bring it lower. I said, it's impossible. I owe $2 million on the house and the value is 800,000.
So you mortgaged the house.
Mortgage down.
You got some initial holes drilled.
Hole 12.
And you're up to hole 12.
Yes. No, I don't know how it works.
Right. Okay. So that's a great story. So what was the market response then at that point?
The still market was bad. Copper was $2, barely around $2, $2.20. Anywhere I go, they say, listen, no one goes after copper. And I kept telling them, listen, it's the time to go into copper because no one is around it. We have to spend the money right now, get it prepared for when the market is right. And when the market is right, you got to be ready. And they go, maybe next year gets better. And I go, I hope not, because I'm not ready. I got to be ready when the market is ready. Quite honestly, this is what I told people. And they were getting shocked, except one of the guys. His name is Jim. He's a great analyst. And he said, I'm so sold on this story. I want my guys to put up money for you, Farshad, but they don't do it. They don't listen. They have to listen right now. Now is the time.
But the market was still flat and hadn't responded. So what gave you traction past that point?
Yes, still until drill hole 10, I was on my own again. But I had some followers. They were quite a little group of 5 people. They were buying the stock and they were really good and etc. And I was talking to them with satellite phone and telling them, hey, listen, I'm drilling. And they were happy that I drilled. That was the most important thing for them. That was the time I learned a little bit about the deposit, how it's shaped. That was a great moment because we drilled it, we had pyrite, so it's not a deposit. How do I do that? I had an IP. I learned I have to go after that IP, and I remained honestly with one hole in my baggage and the money. I was out of every penny. My style is I never owe people. I didn't want to owe people. That's why I stayed on that and I go, okay, let's drill this number 8. We drill number 8. My target, I knew it's going to be about 180 meters below the surface. According to the numbers that I had up to that time and my understanding. So I'm on the drill 20. So literally I was on the drill 24 hours and I slept by the drill. And the next night I came back and it was 9 o'clock. I came back to my shack, laid down. Eric Austin, who owned the project, I heard his boots are stomping on the floor. And I go, what are you doing, Eric? And he goes, he's like my father. He's 80 some years old. He goes, Farshad, you don't understand. You got kids, you got a family, you're losing all the money you haven't hit. We have to go home. I'm going to shut it down. Believe it or not, I was so tired that I I understand risk. He doesn't. He's old timer. And he goes, I'm going to shut it down. And I felt and I saw him moving out. So I went after him. He goes out. It's a beautiful sky, blue sky, snow on the ground. It's not that cold. It's not that warm. And he's walking, and I'm trying to catch up to him because I'm so tired. We didn't have vehicle. We had to walk 1.5 kilometers, 1.8 kilometers. We had to walk, and I'm chasing him, and arrived to him, and I saw he's moaning, he's nagging. And I go, okay, let him walk a little bit ahead of me because I'm not ready to listen to him. But I could hear him. The moon was above his head. He's walking and he's moaning. And all of a sudden, his foot went into a puddle and he goes, he never swears. That was the only time I heard. And he goes, I am effing too old for this.
He was done.
I let him go. Okay, let him go. That the last 100 meters, we started racing each other to get to the drill to see how it is. We both knew nothing. But in my mind, I was there to bring an excuse to let them drill, okay, and tell them, hey, listen, let me drill it. But he went and he went around the box from the other side. Now he's facing me back to the drill. And I arrived and he threw me a half a meter of stick mineralization. That's where
Okay.
we had the confidence. And he goes, well, worth it to come here. He said that. The story starts from there. Then I didn't have any money. If you remember, I had no money left. So what I did, I phoned those three people. I said, hey, listen, quite honestly, I see something which is very quiet, remarkable, and I need $250,000. I need to drill 3 more holes because now I knew what the direction is and how the deposit is forming and where the shape is, what the depth is. This story has a remarkable in between too. And that guy who gave me $250,000, we gave him the shares, we put warrants on it, later on exercised the warrants and etc. So we had drill hole up to drill hole 12, we drilled it, successful, beautiful. And now I had a sizable drill hole results that I could go out and work on it. Now I knew the direction.
So did you have a hunch in terms of what was subsurface? Had any previous work been done to date on this area?
1963, a guy named John Hoy goes, they receive grants from the government. He goes there and picks up a rock, which is 2 ounces per ton gold, south of the project. Then 1974, 3, 4, BHP Billiton of today used to be called another company, Utah Mines. They went there, they did extensive surface sampling, and they did few lines of IP. Those lines of IP, I only received 3 or 4 of them. Those were the discovery point for drill number 6 that we did. And we had that. Surface sampling that we did had a problem because the slope is upward on the property a little bit. When I say upward, maybe from the beginning to the end is about 25 meters difference. It's pretty flat. But at some point, it's been the other way around. So it's been downwards. And glaciers move all the soil to northwest. That when I drilled it and I failed, that was the reason. I drilled it on this location. I had only one number in copper that was mineralized. One number, one sample, 300 ppm in one sample. And that's how I found it. It was based on the IP hunch and the direction it's moving. And I tried to go into the ground with my head and figure out how this deposit has formed. And you got to put yourself in 40 million years ago and see how these things are formed. That's how we discovered it. Yes.
Because there's volcanic activity in the region, isn't there?
Yes. So
So
we had 3 investors that they were following me. The 4th investor who gave me $250,000 plus warrants and etc., he exercised that and remained. Those 3 individuals sold their stock at 20 cents. The 4th person, I never heard from him. Never ever heard from him. Until a few months ago. Those 3 came back. They bought all the stocks they sold. They bought it again. at $1, 70 cents to $1. They bought it. And one of them phoned me and he goes, I forgot his name, that investor. He goes, do you know Sydenham was his family name? Bob Sydenham. And he goes, do you know Bob? I said, who? Bob Sydenham. "Oh, yes, he was a nice guy. He was shareholder back eons ago, 2014. And he goes, yeah, I talked to Bob Sydenham. Do you know what he said? He never sold the shares. He just put them away. He said, I believe in Farshad.
It's still
He bought 7 cents stock.
Wow.
amazing.
Yes,
Uh,
I put him away. I said, no, Farshad is working hard. Whatever he does for himself is going to do it for us too.
Great story.
it's a remarkable story. Great to hear as well. Really, I love it. Absolutely love it. I just full of admiration for pioneers. You won't know this about me, but I often say if I'd have had my time again, I would have loved to have been a geologist.
Tell you about geology. I talk to my kids. One of them is almost 22 years old. Next year, September, is going to be a doctor, full doctor. He's going to go for his specialty. And my son asked, did you want to be a geologist? I said, no, I hated that. And he goes, what? I said, yes. I was just moaning about my job. I said, well, what if you would have been a daycare owner? Then what? Then I thought about it. I said, yes, you have to change your vision. I would have been a daycare owner and I would have made a franchise out of it and make it big. Then I stuck myself into geology. I said, I got to find the niche in geology. What is the best approach? In mining business, you can create wealth. And that pushed me, and that I found my way inside creating wealth. And I moved forward. So if you love your job, from any job you do, you can be absolutely successful if you have the love or if you fall in the love with it.
You can obviously hear in your voice the passion that you've brought to this industry. So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
congratulations on what you've achieved so far. But this story is about what we think is coming. So, why don't we just focus on the resource itself and bring us up to date for those who are joining this story right now, where you've signaled that there's a further resource estimate and a preliminary economic assessment, the PEA, which is due. And there's been some delay in that coming out, Farshad, but perhaps you just want to give us an overview of where you are with this resource, and then we can ask some questions into that.
Sure. Yes. Actually, last year when we did the resource estimate, I put the whole deposit in a resource estimate. I put this block model on the screen and I go, okay, so now what do you want to do with it? The approach was this, that I go and I drill the places that I can move it from inferred to indicated and indicated to measured. And that's one thing. And the other thing is we said, okay, I'm going to drill it in places that we drill it to increase the grade, because the lesser numbers that we have inside those core of the system, it brings the value down. So we started expanding on that, going further. And then we had the third policy in the drilling. And I said, okay, I gave it to my exploration geologist. I said, just show me where you want to drill further, because I want to improve the edges further. And he gave me few spots and we changed it. The effort was to increase the grade, increase the tonnage, increase the category of blocks to make it sensible. Then I thought, okay, we're not here to do a resource estimate when you have a resource. We are here to basically wrap it up and put the ribbon around it and give it to somebody else. How would you do that? There are several steps. One package that you can make is not as high as the other ones, is PEA. I said, let's do PEA. It took me about 6-7 months to find the good fit for porphyry deposit. Our search went all the way to Chile.
Mhm.
To find that person who knows porphyry deposits, who knows resource estimating that porphyry deposit. And that's why we had delays. Resource estimation for a porphyry, who whoever does it, I want them to use variography because I know it really well. That's the way it has to be done. And generally variography is hard to make. It's very, very hard, time consuming. You have to sit down and still go on the computer. No, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work until you find the best fit for your deposit. This person spent months on it to find the best curve for estimation. And believe it or not, he shocked me because I criticize everyone bringing their stuff. I read them, I look at them, and I say, no, 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 no. My answer is always, I feel like I'm too picky. But this guy, I never had a no for it. Always he surprised me. He brought the best one. That's why we were delayed. And our approach is to get the PEA. Now, for the first time, we have a wrap around this box. Now we're going to the next level of development right now after we get the PEA. I'm hoping we get the PEA very soon. There are several words that I promised myself and I promise you. Definitely. The resource has been increased, no doubt.
Well, you've done significant infill drilling, haven't you, since July
Yes,
2024, and now fast forward to now.
Farshad, could I just ask about the PEA? Because I think if I'm right in stating that the work that you've done since the original resource estimate around scandium recovery from the copper tailings means that you'd now be able to include the scandium in the PEA. Is that accurate?
absolutely. Yes. Our scandium, I touch on that. Our scandium is remarkable. Our scandium is the only scandium on the face of this earth that, first of all, we recovered it from a porphyry deposit. No one has that. Everyone has laterite. There's no place you can see scandium sitting next to copper. Basically, scandium is a halo around the copper deposit. And generally, the scandium, when you see scandium in your drill results and you don't hit the copper, it means you're 4 kilometers to 5 kilometers away from the deposit. Somehow, in this deposit, copper intruded into the scandium. That's why they're sitting next to each other. The second thing about this scandium is it when you recover your cobalt and copper, you will remain with acid. And you have to notify your acid it's environmentally problematic and it's going to be a problem for you. But the beauty is we need this acid to use in our process that we develop it ourselves. No one else has it. I'm not going to patent it because when you patent it, then you call everyone to go and be your competitor. I don't think anyone can be a competitor, but yet we said, okay, we're not going to do that. And this acid is nullified and generates the scandium for us. The mining for a scandium is done already to generate gold, copper, silver, cobalt. Mining that is free. And the other thing is we have acid. The acid is free. It's a portion of the acid is created. If we want to generate more scandium, we have to buy acid. And we generate more scandium. Basically, I can tell you this much. With this project, with the look of it, is public info. We have announced this. This project can generate the whole scandium for the world for next whatever number of years. It's so much scandium. And yes, I'm facing a little bit of a problem in here. And I say it. In North America, basically scandium has been used just in labs, 10 grams, 2 grams, because they never had it. They never had it to use it. Even in Europe, they never had it to use it. And that's why the consumption for that hasn't hit the market. But the market knows it. SpaceX type of technology. They need scandium to make scandium aluminum alloy to use it in SpaceX or shields and etc. because it is stronger than steel. It tolerates heat better than steel, and it's lighter than aluminum itself alone. One of the companies that right now that uses scandium alloy is Austin Martin. Austin Martin started using the front of the car, and they're testing that right now, at least until last year that I saw it. They're testing that in one of the vehicles. First of all, the weight is 50% of steel and much stronger than steel. And they're happy with it at the time, but they want to test it and they put it on the most abrasive part of the car, which is the front under the engine, and it's abused, the most abused part of the car. They're using that. So I saw Boeing and Lockheed Martin, they want to change the body of the airplanes because it's weldable. You don't need to rivet it for airplanes. It's weldable, well formed, and light. It brings down the fuel consumption for jets and other things, and it's very strong. Okay, there's no demand, and there is a demand. The demand is being generated is exotic metal that is just hitting the market, and we are bringing enough of it at very low price, very low cost to show it to the market. And I see a huge, huge demand for this coming to the market because no one can create it. Right now, no one can
Right.
generate it. Us. Yes, there are companies in North America, they are generating that and they are going to make it, but they have to inject a lot of money and grant into it to generate it because at this stage, the demand is for Department of War, Department of Energy, and maybe SpaceX, definitely Boeing, and Lockheed Martin.
Fascinating. So really, the availability of it on a more sort of wide scale basis will drive demand in terms of substitution, more efficiency for comparable metals that are currently being used.
Yes, actually, once we come out with the news release and have this scandium with such a low cost for production, I have to go get a life insurance because I think Donald Trump is going to come after me.
Well, it's a hot topic, isn't it? The US and Canada
Yes.
ring fencing the critical minerals.
Do you know, it's funny you mentioned Aston Martin. My daughter, her best friend in school is he's the head of engineering for Mercedes Formula One. And we often meet each other at the drop-offs, and I'll ask him about Scandium. I guess if Aston Martin is trialing the effectiveness of Scandium for use on their cars,
Yes,
I'm sure Mercedes is doing the same.
I am sure about Aston Martin, and firsthand, I've seen the design for one of their cars, and they used it. And if your daughter needs a photo of that slide, I will get you the photo of that slide to show
Right,
they are the first ones. They are
right.
the first ones employing that in the body of the car. Their cost will go down too.
So, what I'm hearing you say is you discovered a quantity of scandium that will be mined as a byproduct because you've got a major source here of copper, cobalt, gold, silver, and then scandium all in one. But the amount of scandium that you're talking about will actually open up new applications for how it's used. So currently there's not a huge market, but that's because there's not been the availability of it as a product for product development. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, there are a couple of things with scandium. First of all, the scandium price in the market is unknown. I have spoken myself with someone in Department of War. They're saying you're buying that for $4,000 per kilogram. I spoke with another firm. We were buying that for 5,000 per kilogram. That's a big number. And then I talked to our engineers. They give me $2,000 per kilogram for engineering. You don't have a set price. And that's one of the problems because no one has it. Something doesn't exist. What do you want to put the price on?
Your end game is probably how to wrap this up with a bow on it so that a major
Yes.
comes and takes you over. I get that. Are you really focused in right now with getting the Scandium onto the books? Will you put it in the PEA as a copper equivalent?
It's going to go into the PEA as a copper equivalent, but the copper equivalent has two portions. We have copper equivalent plus the scandium because copper equivalent, including the scandium, is a very, how do I say it? It's just too big to put it in there. It just make it ridiculous. A portion of that scandium, even we put it, let's say, I don't know what the number is. I don't want to spill it out. I know that.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yes. Let's say 10% of this scandium has acid with itself.
Acid, did you say?
Acid.
Yeah.
Because it's generated from the deposit. That 10% gonna put it in the PEA. Above that, I have to know what the market is. I get the purchase over there in order for them to put it in there because you have to buy acid. And that affects the price. I drilled 2.5 kilometers away from the first hole to see if we have deposits here too. I had still the same grade of scandium there as I had it with the north. It's a big stretch. If scandium hits $4,000 per kilogram, I can buy any amount of acid. I can generate any amount of scandium that we need. And it's fairly simple for us, of course, after spending $2 million on it.
What you're saying is the 10% which you'll attribute into the PEA has
Yes.
acid in so
In
from the
situ.
so
Yes.
from the resource itself, you'll use the acid that comes from production to release the scandium.
Yes.
So you don't have to buy. Wow. So you
Yes.
don't actually. Oh, that's a real light bulb moment for me. So you don't have to buy acid. You literally use what you have as a natural resource to extract.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Amazing. So you're on the cost curve. Well, so you'll be the world leader. You'll be number one, right?
Yes. No one can produce it with this price. Period. And I tell you, there are many other things that in our news release, we said it. We don't need high temperature. We don't need high pressure. We don't need a lot of acid. If you look at some Australian producers that they are saying they are going to production, they have spent about $1 billion on that. Not quite $1 billion, 500 plus $420 million US they have spent on it. But they have to have, for simplicity, I say it, 320 psi, 320 degrees pressure, and 100 liters of acid. I just made them very simple. They need all of that to produce 15-20% of the scandium. It's a lot of cost going into it. I made it very simple. We don't need any of that. Yes, we need maybe 40 degrees temperature, and that's it. And that's cooking pot.
And you've done that work to assess the process?
They have literally produced scandium with that process.
Mm-hmm.
The next step going forward right now, we are in the process of doing that. We are building a pilot plant. I bought a piece of land in Dees Lake to build it there. Then we spoke and we found out it's easier to do it in Ontario at a pilot plant that we have bought already all the equipment and etc. Because for the lab test, you need 50 to 100 times repetition. Now we're going to test it on more than 10, 12 tons of material. We're sending that to that lab and get a pilot plant going. and make high purity. There are several products that we have to do. The base product is scandium oxide, which has been the hardest of all of them because it is the simplest to be used in industry. Then we're gonna do pure scandium. From this step, it's easy to be done. And scandium phosphate, that's another one. For this three product to be generated in industrial scale, we have embarked on it, and it'll cost, so far I have $10 million bid for it. You know, that it's gonna cost us a year and a half to two and $10 million after to make that happening. But that's gonna be in industrial scale, and we have all the shapes and machinery and everything, then we can put it into production.
Farshad, so the polymetallic advantage here, most proprietaries only have 2 or 3. How much does having this full basket improve project economics? So copper, cobalt, gold, silver, scandium. Your maiden resource estimate, July 2024, that was just under 5 billion pounds of copper equivalent. That was from 2024. So looking ahead, maybe some color on where you think that's heading.
Okay, so I haven't seen the copper equivalent myself. I have not seen the grade myself. They they have given me a draft report that's all of those are redacted. They're not in there. And because they
For
still,
the up and coming PEA.
yes. So I haven't seen the number. So if I want to give a potential, I say, okay, we should have 7 billion pounds copper equivalent in there. There were other things that we were chasing and were looking, and it's going to come in the next metallurgy report that we're going to do is several other things. This polymetallic is small amount of everything. Some of the things that we never looked at it from this analysis came out in the metallurgy. We had PGE, platinum group metals. We had palladium. We just ignored it. But now when we look at the size, we say, what? We have to take it. We have a possibility that I'm pushing for it too, to have gallium. Gallium is basically a metal which is almost liquid. Of course, for the ones that they are interested, it's quite remarkable material. You take gallium, you put it in the palm of your hand and it starts melting. But gallium is needed for a lot of industries, including solar system, the solar power, including cell phones. We have it too, but all these small components, they make a big component altogether. That's why my metallurgist has said we have to get the palladium, PGE, and also gallium also into the equation for the next MRE. Hopefully, potentially 1.5 times plus.
You announced a strategic relationship back in March last year with a Qatari entity who I think are connected to the sovereign. It looks like they may be connected to the sovereign wealth fund by the investigations that I did, Farshad. But it'd be good to hear about your aspirations for that. How you see that relationship evolving.
Yes, we for another day we will talk about how I got to know this person and how it came about. She is from the royal family, both from royal family in Saudi Arabia and also Qatar. And so we started the relationship. It took about 6 months to believe in the project. She was going back and forth, back and forth. By fluke, she goes to her dentist, and dentist ask her, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm working on Scandium. And the dentist is German. And he goes, whoever has a Scandium can rule the world in the next 10 years. That's what she heard. She came back to me. We signed an agreement to work on our behalf. She is advisor to the Prime Minister of Qatar. She is right where QIA, Qatar Investment Authority, is, and they are, doing the budgeting and etc. She's all over those places, and also she's in a team that is with Saudi Arabia. They have shown interest that they want to have the copper. It's hot. It's with them every Sunday except this week that passed because Ramadan is coming and they don't like to work. They get tired,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
in the
yeah,
first week.
yeah.
They haven't spoken. But every Sunday she comes in. So what happened to to PEA? What happened to resource estimate? I'm saying, you know, honestly, it's not in my hand. I own it, but I can't touch it, and I don't have ruling on it. They're working on it hard. They're really working. We're almost there to provide to the world what we have. I don't have it in my hand, as I told you. And the moment I have it in my hand, there's no way I have to announce it. And that triggers 45 days and I-43 on a month. I don't want to be on the hook for that.
So you've had the Qatar connection with QIA. They've expressed an interest and you announced that. Was that February, March last year?
Yes, we had back in July, I had a meeting with them. And in that meeting, I found out there is a big interest in there with QIA. And after my meeting with them, then he sends emails and keep asking, what happened? What happened? It shows the interest is there. But the guy who is in charge of choosing the project is Australian and he's very well versed on projects and quite knowledgeable person. So that makes me happy that they understand. And
But so they've looked at it. They're obviously interested in the whole resource, and they're waiting on the PEA. And then on that basis, they can bring some, I guess, measure of valuation against the asset. And I guess once the PEA is out, you know, you're going to have interest from lots of parties.
most definitely,
Can I ask a question surrounding
sure.
permitting? You're in a tier one mining jurisdiction, rule of law,
Yes, everything is rules based.
and the site itself, there's been news that said that the main highway into the Golden Triangle is having investment. So there'll be a direct route almost, I think it's about 10 kilometers away from your site. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it seems to have everything going for it. How do you manage your relationship with, say, First Nations, and where does that sit in the permitting processes?
Okay, I tell you what is happening. They gave a mining permit to another company just about 10 days ago to SK Creek, which was remarkable. We are in communication, off and on with them. I had the last communication that I had with them. They said they are working on IBA for SK Creek, and they're quite busy. Then it's my turn to talk to them. So
Okay. British Columbia is a mining jurisdiction. It's a very familiar thing, but that is a process to recognize in terms of sustainability and looking after the landscape and the resource and making sure that's sustainable for everybody.
yes, of course, you need basically you need the workforce, you need the First Nations
Mm.
to be with you because am I gonna bring uh, you know staff and etc. from the city to there? They're next to us. We need them. We need them to be, and plus they are very well educated in the art of mining. They are very well educated. They got equipment. They got everything. So we need them more than anything else. Plus, the I don't know how much, but we're gonna generate billions of dollars in taxes that they benefit directly from it.
Mm.
So it's coexistence. Their income is from this kind of deposits. It's very important to have their say, their point, and their pre-arrangements how to deal with the companies on that. And this is something that I cannot manage. It's not in my forte. Right now, we have hired a headhunter to get a person who can do all of these from environmental permitting, from social licensing, and communication with the government, so First Nation government and also British Columbian government. There's something that we are lucky that we have the largest and the closest to production scandium, cobalt, and copper deposit in Canada. That literally this project, I just want to go, I'd like to give you a little bit of numbers so it gives you a little bit of understanding. We're talking about, say, tens of billions of dollars value in the ground. That's what the number is. And it comes with copper. We all need it. What else does it have? It has a road that can be done quite fairly quickly. There's no project in Golden Triangle, no project in Golden Triangle that has access anything close to our project. No project, absolutely zero. And who told me that? Actually, I was in a meeting with First Nations, with the authority, and they told me. Honestly, I never thought about it up until that time. The other thing is, we are the whole community in that area generating workforce for other projects about 110 kilometers away or 200 kilometers even away. But we are 40 kilometers away from them. Then we're going to be go to work, come back home at night. But they're going to be in the communication soon, sitting down together and getting this talk in advance of the news release for MRE and PEA.
Are there any initiatives in terms of accelerating the permitting timelines in British Columbia? I'm aware there are in Ontario. I have a couple of projects in Ontario that I'm following, but this is my first one in British Columbia. I'm not sure of any either federal or local government initiatives to accelerate all the permitting times.
Yes, federal government has 4th of April, they have a sit down with all people involved. And the theme of that basically involvement is federal government is going to be the front and the center of permitting in British Columbia. I do remember a few years ago, the banks, they were saying it's too big to fail.
Yeah.
I believe our project is too important to fail. And the federal government has to work around it and make it happen faster than anything else because we're ready. It's a flat ground. I've been in London. Our property, 80% of it is the same as London. That flat, that kind of flat area, that gives you a boost. The water is there. The power is up to Red Chris. We're proposing to take the power from there and bring it to our property, which makes it very fast. It's just all of that can happen in 2 years. We are doing environmental work in advance of environmental permitting and etc. based time studies. I tried to act as a wise man and do all of that as much as I can.
Yeah, so when you look at the preliminary economic assessment, all the input costs to actually start this thing up actually are remarkably low in comparison to other projects. Yeah, your power, your water source, flat land, you're not fighting any uphill battles with any of that.
No, not really. And from next year, I hope from next year we're gonna still continue as if nothing is gonna happen. I always go like that. I say, okay, go drill again, go move it forward until such a time that someone is interested. That's how I did it during this past 15 years, and we move forward.
Farshad, then you mentioned the PEA and updated resource assessment is coming. I think you said imminent in one of your most recent, if not last news release. What does the rest of 2026 look like for Doubleview?
Okay, that's a good question. I think right after the news release for PEA and MRE, several things are going to happen. I have definitely meetings with majors that they want to meet with me. I have about 3 of them from Japan only, 3 of them. And of course, We have Qatar and Saudi Arabia that they want to meet with me. I may embark on it and go to Qatar because on the last conversation I had, they said they want you to come over here with your team and do a presentation after you announce it. I said, sure, we'll do that. So I'm going to be quite busy personally with all of those. And I hope I can wrap it up in a month after that. Now we have to see what happens. If we are still working on this, I'd like to go and drill it further, expand the mineralization, and at the same time take our team to go install the weather stations and have baseline studies done. And at the same time, we want to do metallurgy, advanced metallurgy, because the further we go and we increase the size, we increase the parameters of this study, we increase the value of the project. And every day I make it more expensive for them because at some point, someone has to come in here. It could be a case I take it to production myself. I will become executive chairman and I bring someone who understands mining and not me. Okay, I don't want to pretend whatever I am not.
Well, you've done a remarkable job, Farshad, as a geologist. You found this deposit. It was
By accident, not on the.
but it was so great to listen to your story. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're really excited to sort of start following you. And will you? Just an open question: will you come back on and talk to us after the PEA is out?
Absolutely. There are some clarifications that I believe the listeners in here, they need to see it in the real world when the numbers come out and when they look at it. How come it's this? How come it's that? I know always there are questions around it. And I think it's going to be a good milestone in this presentation. So I always like to be conservative in my talks. I hope for the evaluation of this deposit, both in numbers, in dollars, and etc., I've been conservative enough. I hope we see better than that.
Is there any final comment you'd like to make?
I enjoy talking to people, especially the viewers or listeners that they are going to listen to this. It's remarkable that we have this kind of community that we can communicate with, and we can have our chat out there and they get it. My final word is when you go to any projects, one of the many things that investors should look at is how much skin the people involved have in the game. Maybe I have flesh in there too, more than.
I think your wife has as well.
Yes, we are around 38 million shares.
Yeah. So was it about 16%? I think
16%, give or take, and I always keep it at that level. I try. Sometimes, it goes lower, but then bring it up because I believe it's going to be a good inheritance for my kids. I enjoyed discovering it. That's all I can say. The other thing is in the investment, I like to see people not only having skin in the game, at least from the management part of it, they have someone who knows what the business is, someone right in the job who knows what it is. And I believe that that's going to make it successful. And I think we have what it takes to get it done.
Amazing, Farshad. Thanks so much for coming on. Really enjoyed talking to you. We'll talk to you again soon.
Sure, of course. Thank you for having me here.
Absolute pleasure to meet you, Farshad, and great to hear your story.
Thank you. Saying it. Thank you.
Gold, copper, scandium, cobalt, and silver. The strategic minerals driving global economies continue to be proven up at Doubleview Gold's flagship HAT project, potentially one of Canada's largest porphyry copper gold deposits. Over 13,000 meters of drilling in 2025 and ongoing this year have advanced the project to MRE and PEA release within weeks. Fully funded, located in a safe mining jurisdiction, and rapidly advancing. Doubleview, pure potential.
Thank you from all the crew here at the Flight Deck, and hope to see you soon over at Flight's investment server, sharing industry insights for the good of all.